What's holding you back from hiring a virtual assistant? I know for me, sometimes I feel like I just don't want to make a mistake, or I don't want to make another mistake. Well, guess what? I've hired maybe 50 virtual assistants in my past for working with therapy practices, and I've made most of the mistakes you can make. And Whitney Owens does an interview with me on her podcast, the Wise Practice Podcast, about just 3 of those mistakes. And I wanted to share those with you so that you don't make them in the future. We talk about hiring virtual assistants with mental health experiences, hiring virtual assistants that understand tech, and also hiring virtual assistants not based on your gut feeling, but based on empirical data. So take a listen to that. There's also a couple other tips in there about hiring a virtual assistant. Also on her webpage and on her show notes, I have a link in there for you to get a virtual assistant job description with 10 behaviors to look for, as well as questions for you to ask in the interview about how to draw out those behaviors. So you're making great information, you're getting the data you need on the behaviors you're looking for to make the best hire for your virtual assistant. So head on over to whitneyowens.com and click the podcast page, and you will see our interview there. Make sure you go to the show notes and look at some of the links there for resources on virtual assistants. Welcome back to the Scaling Therapy Practice. This is James Marlin. Today we have a special guest, Leo Debroeck. Did I say that
nailed
right?
it. Yes.
Right, good. Don't ask me to do it again. Leo, I'm going to stick with Leo.
Yeah, that's a good one. Yeah.
For the rest of the episode. He is a licensed mental health counselor and child mental health specialist in Washington State. Oh, that's kind of far from me. I'm in Pennsylvania. So you are way up northwest, right?
Way up in the corner, yeah.
Yeah. We'll talk about that in a second.
All right.
He's the president and founder of the Counselor's Choice Award, LLC, which reviews and promotes scientifically validated counseling products, therapeutic tools, and books. He's written several children's therapy books, which are self-published and available on Amazon.com. We'll get those links for you in the show notes. And he uses it for therapy settings addressing grief, self-confidence, addiction, neglect, abuse, and others. And I identify with this last sentence here, Leo. He had a difficult time summarizing himself in 3 to 5 sentences for James to read as an introduction. And I think that's one of the hardest parts of coming on a show is like, how do I write about myself? But you did a good job. I feel
good.
A lot. So Leo, welcome to the show.
Yeah, thank you kindly. It's been nice up in here in Washington. I'll say we had our first day over 65 degrees in over 125 days. And there were people out with socks and sandals. I call that the Washington uniform, and, short sleeve shirts and tank tops because it was 60 degrees. And I was one of them. It was every chance you have to get vitamin D, we take it. We've got a saying out here. It started as a joke, but now people just say it. The mountains are out, which means that it's not cloudy. So,
that's great.
Yeah, it's like, it's not even funny though. It's just like a saying now because it just doesn't.
Yeah, the mountains are out. Oh, look.
It doesn't clear up.
So you have mountains. Does that mean there's like skiing and mountain activities?
Oh, do we ever? So the hiking out here, everyone always talks about, which is great if you're into hiking. I love our beaches here. They're overcast, they're windy, the sand is brown, and hard, and you can just be out there and it's so peaceful. There's nobody out there. The Washington beaches are where it's at, honestly. No one ever talks about them, no one ever thinks about them, so they're perfect.
I really identified with what you said because that was my favorite part. Just sitting and listening and walking and like the views and the overlook and lighthouses and I don't know. It was just amazing. I've always been fond of them. So let's talk about a tool or tip or tech of the week. Do you have one that you wanna share with people?
I do, but I'm gonna just caveat it first. I'm super biased because I published my 7th book last week.
Awesome.
Yeah, so I'm a little biased. I think that one's great personally. It's called the Trust Hotel. It's aimed for kind of middle school aged kids to early high school. And it's up on Amazon. So the Trust Hotel is about trying to understand trust like you would floors on a hotel, where there's a lobby where, you'll get to know anyone. You'll have a coffee with them, whatever. And then there's the first floor, kind of crappy rooms, not stuff you're worried about being broken. And then it kind of goes up until you get to the penthouse, where that's anybody you can trust. And then there's a doghouse where it's like people who have wrecked one of the rooms. And maybe you gave them a second chance, maybe you didn't. It's up to you. But now they're in the doghouse. They're not allowed back in. Right.
Mm.
So it's a cute little, short, I think it's 28-page book or whatever that you can do in a therapy session. It's made for school counselors and therapists. And I absolutely adore it, but I'm biased. Yeah.
Sure. Well, you got,
Yeah.
yeah, the
Uh,
Trust Hotel
yes.
on,
And
on Amazon. Cool. That sounds like a neat little therapy tool to use. So my tip of the week is just watch out for how much information you're consuming. I'm still reading the book, I think it's the 4-Hour Work Week by Tim Ferriss. Reading is in quotes. I'm listening to it on Audible because I like to listen to things while I'm doing other things. And I don't know about you, but why do I feel like I have to listen to it at 1.5 or 2.5 speed?
oh,
I
I'm the
don't
same
know,
way.
but that's what I do. And so anyways, I'm listening to it, and he was really challenging us to, how much time are you wasting by consuming information that you don't use? And that could be even good stuff like newspapers or watching the news, or even like not bad stuff, but like social media posts and YouTube videos. I know, like, for whatever reason, when I click on a YouTube video or a Facebook video about something, it always goes to like things that I'm interested in, or like spaceships or car
Yeah.
crashes, or just like informational things, and it's endless. And then is my life any better? Like, did I improve my life by watching one more car crash video or dash?
hmm
Yeah, I guess they're dash cam videos.
Yeah.
Like, my life's no better doing that. So he's really challenging to be like, cut that stuff out. Your life's no better, and you can do better stuff with your time. So I'm like, oh, that's pretty good, Tim Ferriss. I
I have to
will.
say, like, going through like your YouTube history or
Oh,
something like that, and you're just like, who clicked on this? And you're just,
yeah, it
oh,
just goes and goes. So that was very, very challenging. So that's my tip of the week.
thank you. I
Well,
like that one. I'm going to use that one too, honestly.
well, the harder part for this, the action step, was go on an information fast for 7 days. And I'm just like, oh man.
Ooh.
Like, yeah, just do few simple things and turn off the other stuff to detox yourself. It's like a detoxing, because we're addicted. I'm addicted to information. Useless. I'm addicted to useless
But
information.
it feels like you're being so productive because you've learned something, though. But yeah,
I
not really.
guess, but just before the show, I clicked on like why this Marvel actor was fired.
Super useful to your life, I'm
Like,
sure.
I won't even remember it
You want
a
to take
day
their
from
job.
now.
That's why you're going to go.
Yeah, for sure. But I spent 5 minutes reading this article about somebody I didn't even know because it had the word, Marvel in it. But
Mhm.
okay. So let's get into our interview with Leo. Leo, I ran into you because you had an interesting web page. It's the Counselor's Choice Award. Or what's the URL actually?
Yeah, it's counselorschoiceaward.com is the full URL, though.
Okay, great. And I hadn't heard of too many of those types of awards before, and I thought it would be interesting for the audience as part of like, scaling through community, or scaling through one of the things that people are always looking for are testimonials. Like, oh, this works. So how does that work? So I thought I'd bring you on the show and let you talk about how you got started and what it does for people. So yeah, how did you get started with this?
Yeah, so I have a mantra that there isn't a somebody. People always say, oh, somebody should go take care of that. Somebody should go do this. And it started out where it was, somebody should write children's therapy books, because there really aren't many for therapists to use. I said, yeah, somebody. And then I started doing it. Now I'm 7 books later. And it kinda also I ended up working with a coworker to help doing the illustrations and things like that, and we worked together, and it was actually really fun to do, and, we would have conversations around the water cooler, so to speak, to say, somebody really should help with all of these therapy sites that were coming out at the time, the online help that they didn't vet therapists, some of them were claiming to be licensed that just flat out
Mhm.
weren't. And we're like, wow, somebody really should like have a way to a better business bureau of sorts to make sure that like these places are legit, someplace that both therapists can use as well as, consumers, to be able to identify what is this? Is it really legit?
Mhm.
We're like, yes, somebody should do that. And here we are.
Somebody, yeah.
So I am somebody. And some of my coworkers kind of started this because we wanted to make sure these therapy tools and products that get advertised actually have some validity to them and get some sense of review. So our slogan, reviewed by licensed mental health therapists, is kind of our go-to because everything we post, everything we do has to be reviewed. And we kind of base all of our work on the scientific model, how a academic journal, peer-reviewed journal works, where their user submits it. And then I would be kind of the editor in this case. I send it out to my volunteers, the people who review it, and then if everyone approves, we host their information, we make blog posts about it, we put them on our honorees, throw the information out on social media, we let them use our logo on their website, we let them blast it because if it's a good tool, you can't drown out the bad stuff. There's always going to be it, but you can make good stuff louder. And that's
Mhm.
kind of been our goal. So we've decided to do this in 3 different big ways. The first way is if someone has a therapy product, a book, the receptionist is something I know you've had
Yeah,
for on this.
Michael Ashford.
That's right, yeah.
He was
We've
awesome.
he is honestly the best. I love him. We're kind of working together to go through his product at the moment as well, to see if it meets. It sounds like it's probably going to get approved. I'm waiting on one more
Oh,
person.
so you can submit, like, not just therapy books, but products used
Mhm.
in a therapy office.
Precisely, like, anything that's gonna help a
Ah.
therapist and we want to look distinguished for therapists to find, we're gonna do it.
Oh, that's cool. That
Yeah,
that kinda puts a little twist on it too.
exactly, right? 'Cause, I mean, there's another one, Brighter Visions, I think I've been
Yep.
working with them, and they make websites and,
Mhm.
they make it real easy. The, things that make being a therapist for the therapist as opposed to being the business owner, right? Or being, working on scaling your practice, which, as you know, is a lot of work, but it doesn't really have to be, right? That's the reason you're listening to
Mhm.
this podcast is because it
Mhm.
really doesn't have to be if you know what you're doing. Work smarter, not harder. Things that like that can all, submit for Counselor's Choice Award.
It
And
was
oh, sorry, go
Go
ahead.
go ahead. No, my comment was not related to anything. The work smarter, not harder made me think of Scrooge McDuck.
That,
Yes. Uh,
well, I mean, I would love to swim in money too,
yeah,
honestly.
I
But
know.
I mean, I'm not going to turn it down, but
Yeah.
yeah. Well,
Ye
that's kind of the other mindset we have to keep in mind is that people think, oh, rich people are these bad people that
Yeah.
are taking advantage of others, and that's just not the case. If you're running a good business, you're going to be available to help more people than if you're scrounging for pennies every week. If you're needing to do this stuff like Counselor's Choice Award is meant to make that easier for you to run a better business, find the things that you need to do that. So we don't charge anything to apply. It's free to apply because we ask for donations, either donations of your money to help. I mean, the websites aren't free, or donation of your time to be a volunteer if you're a licensed mental health therapist
Mhm.
or psychologist, things like that. And in my experience, 55% of people donate one of those two things when they submit an application. Now, I don't tell my reviewers whether they've donated or
Mhm.
chosen to volunteer or anything so that we kind of keep it separate. But as a result, anyone can, there's no ceiling or floor there. Anyone can apply for it. And we can send it out to reviewers who are volunteers. And it really makes it really accessible that way. So it's not just, these big therapy products and tools, but anybody who's got a book, anybody who's got something that can help us.
So you can submit your own stuff, you're saying? Like
Most people
if I
do, exactly. Yeah,
most people submit their own things. Like there's no like, hey, well, what if I like somebody else's stuff? Am I allowed to submit
you
other
totally can, and we've done
books and
that
stuff?
for a few things. Like Claudia Black's pretty well known. We had someone else kind of submit her stuff, and we're like, yeah, she's got great stuff on addiction. Why wouldn't we approve this?
Mm.
Why wouldn't we have that? Because this is extremely high quality work that she does. So someone else submitted hers, and now she's on our list of honorees and everything too.
And in the vetting process, do you if something doesn't like pan out or they don't get approved, do you give them recommendations on how to improve? Or is it
It's
just a yes, no binary thing?
Yeah, and that's part of the efforts that the volunteers do really really good work in, which is that 90% of the time we just have to come back with more questions or more specifics.
Mhm.
But if it's a no, you kind of can tell pretty quickly. The idea is that we're looking to be able to give feedback here
Mhm.
for them, for the positives or the negative. The the idea is that when you submit, if there are certain things, we're going to tell you, hey, this is missing, any sort of scientific validity. Has this been tried in different settings before? Things like that. So it's pretty rare that we're going to just telling you like, sorry, you get rejected or get ghosted. It just doesn't happen.
Okay.
Yeah, the other area that surprises a lot of people is we do it for group and private practices. We've even done it for an inpatient hospital. So if you just have a private practice or even a small group practice and you're looking to be able to look a little bit more distinguished in your area, you can throw it in for yourself there as well. We're more than happy to. The application's pretty straightforward. It's the thing, if you're running a good practice you're doing already, from what is your wait list, and
Mhm.
how long is it? What do you do when you're out of the office? Do you have someone available for crises? Do you accept hospital discharges? And then the big one is, do you accept anyone? And a lot of people are going to be like, oh yeah, well, I'll accept anybody. And then the next question is, what qualifies you to do that? What are your
Mhm.
specials? What are your trainings? Because if you're accepting everyone and anyone, you need to be basically the Renaissance man and have credentialed in everything, right? So it's common sense stuff. Like if you're
Yeah.
running a good practice and it's meeting certain standards, we'll give you the logo to put on your website. We'll blast out that you've won the award, things like that, because we really want these private practices that do those basic standards, that beyond just licensure, to get
Mhm.
recognized. It's not easy.
Yeah. It's one more voice when they could be choosing a lot of other things. Oh, this person has has been nominated or recognized. So,
And think about this: if you're trying to grow your practice, and I'm a therapist looking at what place to join,
mhm.
after I've gotten my license, I'm
Mhm.
going to be looking for one that's also more distinguished, one that's more got some kind of recognition besides just that we're licensed. We've got our business license, we've hung a shingle. Because a lot of places aren't going to be joint commission authorized and things like that if they're kind of not gigantic, right?
Sorry, the hospital I worked for was Joint Commission
Yeah,
accredited.
same.
What a nightmare that
Yeah,
was. There was so
joint
much extra
commission
work,
reviews. Um,
so much extra work. Anyway, sorry,
yeah, yeah.
I'll get over that little flash of
Just
pain.
deep breath. It's okay. Joint commission is a sort of trigger word for me. 'Cause where like, are they coming in today? Are they
Are they
reviewing our
is
stuff?
it today? Is today
Yeah,
day?
I didn't study.
Oh,
Uh,
man. Oh, fun times, fun times.
yeah, so that's kind of the other, and then the last big piece for us is just starting this year. We've put in for accreditation for providing continuing education credits. So we now provide free continuing education credits that are accredited for some really, I think, dang good courses. I say that because I made a couple of them. But a lot of group practices and private practices are trying to showcase their expertise, and providing continuing education credits not only provides extra income, and it's super easy to do. You don't need, special heavy equipment or anything like that, but it also is a nice way to be able to help the other people in the profession. So what we're doing is we will host the videos, we will go through the accommodation requirements, everything that's hard to do and all the person needs to do is focus on making a really high quality course. And this is where good business versus bad business comes in. There is a grimy thing a lot of other places do business wise, which is when as you sign up for with them to sell their education course with them, you lose exclusivity. You cannot sell it anywhere else. You cannot teach it again.
Mm-mm,
You cannot do anything. You're stuck. In fact, there's one
mm-mm,
place I was talking to that you can't even teach the same material. So if you spent 8 years in, grad school learning
mm-mm,
something and got your PhD, and now you've taught this course which you wrote your dissertation on, and you taught a course with them, you can never ever teach that course ever again, even though you spent years of your life. That's awful. And they're a nonprofit, by the way, in California. And I'm like, why is that okay? Why is that allowed?
mm-hmm, mm-hmm,
It's unethical. So we don't sign for exclusivity. In fact, we work with other people to get your course in more places, because if it's a really good course, we want it to be out there as much as
mm-hmm,
possible. So if people don't know how to make a course, they've never made one before, but they're interested, I'll talk with or someone from our team to show them how to do it. We have templates to go through. We'll show them the list of requirements for different accreditation standards. It's way more accessible. You can literally make a course in a day or just between your no-shows in a week. It's
mm-hmm,
it's not hard if you're already an expert in that area and you know a lot about it, which a lot of people have specialties. So we've kind of expanded into that area recently because the businesses, the way that they're being run, they need to be taken down. Like they just need to be
mm-hmm.
punched in the face because it's not okay. And someone should do something, right? Someone should run a business differently so that people can get good continuing education courses. Well, we're someone.
Cool. So that's really interesting. So you're making it easy for people to use their expert knowledge to help other people and earn some money, I
Yeah,
guess.
passive
Sounds
income
like.
because we do asynchronous courses. And it actually adds up quite a bit once you get, 3 or 4 courses going. You can
Cool.
quit your day job, but, go on vacation, spend that 15-hour
Yeah.
trip up to the beach. It's not a bad idea.
Well, that's part of the problem with only earning money when you're behind the chair and somebody's in front of you, right?
Mhm.
Like you can't if you need to pay the bills, you can't stop it. Like you can't
Yeah.
stop seeing people. Going on vacation is not just, going on vacation, it's going on vacation and missing a week or 2 of work.
Mhm.
So it's like extra hard. So how do you add a revenue stream that might not make up for, quitting therapy completely,
Mhm.
but how do you maximize your skills, like maximize the knowledge that you have in using it in an alternative way, like not 100% pivot, but like an addition to what you're doing. And I think online courses,
Mhm.
CU courses, training courses, video courses, it's just so much easier now than it used to be. Like the technology's
Mhm.
good, the cameras are good, the microphones are relatively cheap, you know.
Yeah. Depends on the day.
Well, you can go down the $1,000 rabbit trail, but most of the time for what we use, $100 is fine. So,
Yeah. Well, the thing is, like, I know every single therapist has taken a bad course, right? One that is
mhm,
either too advanced or too basic or just not something they're gonna use, and it's a waste of everybody's time and energy, right? Time
yeah,
that could be better spent being a therapist. Would really like to nip that in the bud. I went to this one course where the person wanted to talk about a book, and then they just left for, like, 3 minutes to go get the book in the middle of the course. And I'm like, "What's this? What did I just pay for? Like, how
yeah,
is this allowed?" So, making sure that you've got, good material for then you know what you're buying is gonna be of
mhm,
quality is so important when it is that easy, when anyone with a microphone and camera can do it. Unfortunately, that lowers the bar quite a bit too.
yeah. So how do you help them ensure quality then when they're making the courses?
Yeah, we've got about 15 things they have to do. But they're like, that's how you do anything, including getting a business. It's just a bunch of tiny steps. So everything from, do you have recent, cited articles within the past 10 years? Because if it's not within the past 10 years and you're citing research from the 1940s or 60s or something, we're like,
Hmm.
okay, there's got to be a real good reason for this. So it's got to be recent research, something that's current. There needs to be, depending on the material, like a case presentation of sorts, obviously not a real case, but something that can help them kind of really digest it. It can't be, a bunch of videos just shackled together and stitched to make a course. It actually has to be, you presenting materials. So fairly straightforward things that you'd think is actually a pretty low bar, but you'd be surprised. If you'd never made a course before, you don't know what you don't know. You
Hmm.
don't know what to ask. Some of the other pretty straightforward ones is that you are able to have a post test that is adequate. If
Hmm.
someone who's never taken the course can pass the post test, which is why this stuff is reviewed by therapists, you know exactly what's going to happen. They're not going to watch it or they're not going to read it and they're going to click
Right.
to the post test. And you're like, we have a little bit stricter requirements. And when we get reviewed, we have our reviewers take the post test first. And if they can pass it without doing the test, means either they're already an expert in that area, in which case we'll get a different reviewer, or they need to write a better post test.
Oh, very interesting. How
Yeah,
many
it's not
courses
great
do
for
you?
the buyer side because they want an easy post test, but like we're more obsessed with
Well,
quality than quantity.
yeah, that you're for those people, that's not your audience. You don't want the
No.
people who just want the easy course. Your audience is somebody who actually wants to learn something or be inspired or, you know, get use from
Yeah.
the mandatory credits. So, how many courses do you have right now?
The last time I checked, about a dozen. I'm getting like one or two coming in a week at this point because that's kind of the nice thing about it. Once I've trained people on how to do this, they can just start sending it in. And what a lot of therapists are doing is one person I work with, they have their courses available on their site so they can take them there if they want, or they can, anyone that they direct our way, they're going to get a fee split for that. And a couple other ones, they have on their website just a link because they don't want to host the videos. They don't want to have to deal with
Mhm.
accommodations or accreditation. It's just a link that sends it straight to their course on our website, not all of our courses, just their course.
And are
Um,
they accredited or is it your site is accredited?
Yeah, that's where it gets tricky. So we're accredited as a provider. So when we review it, we sometimes do certain video editing and accommodation standards to make it accredited. For example, if you taught it live and you recorded it and now you want to sell that recording, we have to cut out all the breaks because that we can't
Mhm.
be accredited and have a 15-minute break where we
Right.
just stare at a video screen, right? So we have to cut stuff out to stay accredited. So it's us that are accredited, but we host the course, which then, after our edits, meets those same standards.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Cool. I like it. And I suppose the applications, it's all on the web page,
Oh
right?
yeah, it's
How to
just
do that.
on the top banner. You hit apply now, and it'll be right there. It's easy though, and it's something that will make your practice, especially if you have therapists that work for you and you know that they've got no shows or you know that they're slowly building up their clientele and doing intakes. Make them make a course while they've got downtime. It doesn't take long to make a
'Cause
2-hour course. It
yeah,
really
they've
doesn't.
already done a dissertation or something,
Right.
they've already got this massive research project that they could do, even if they're new.
Yeah,
They
it's
have
really not.
something, and it's
And
probably valuable. Like most therapists I talk to, even their like Facebook posts could be a course sometimes. They're just
yeah,
like, these are like the 3 things I did today that made my life better, and I'm like, what? That's amazing, and
yes.
it's just like one of the most. I think it's an undertapped that knowledge is undertapped. Like it's just not because it's always behind the chair, right? It's
Mhm,
always one to one. And how do you take that and make it one to many? Online courses,
mhm.
CEUs, books, your books. That's another way to take it from one to many is just something that should be explored because you're not gonna be behind the chair forever, right? So what are you gonna do? What do you like? How do you prepare for your future today? Yeah, the passive income stuff.
Mhm.
So we've talked about the awards. We've talked about CEUs. Was there anything else that you wanted to talk about or bring up about your webpage or what you're doing?
I just want to say one other thing, which is that we're always looking for donors and we're always looking for volunteers because it's free to apply. So, I mean, why not? There's no cost to you. The application isn't long.
Mhm.
If you miss something, we'll just reply back in an email that said, "Hey, what about this?" So, what harm is there in just applying for Counselor's
Mhm.
Choice Award for your private practice or group practice? Because it's if you're doing everything right, we really do want to recognize you for that. It is a big deal, and it shouldn't just be seen as, "Oh, I met the bar." Because if you
Mhm.
really work to help your clients, people need to know it, and they need to use that as a model to help themselves. Because there are a lot of people that struggle with these business sides of things, or what to do with their wait lists, etc.
No, that's great. It doesn't hurt to apply. It's free to apply, and the recognitions and the testimonials are something that we all need. I think like it's something that is great. Um,
Mm.
Before we go, I wanted to. You, do you have a story about why you don't wait for somebody?
I have many stories for that, but
Because that came up a couple times, and
mm,
it sounds personal and sort of we have mantras we live by because of reasons, so
mm,
what was your reason to live by this?
So I grew up in Everett, north of Seattle. If you've ever heard of a Boeing plane, it's a good probability that was built or designed there. Northrop Grumman, things like that. So it's a lot of work to for 120,000 people to work at just a couple of Boeing factories. So it's a lot of blue collar work. And one of the areas that I grew up and lived in, it really felt normal for there to always say, "Oh yeah, we should do these things." And one of the things was we should have therapists and counselors just in schools because there's a lot of kids that need therapy that don't have a way to have their parents take them to a therapy office. And I just heard that so long in my life for such a long time. I'm like, well, somebody needs to do that. And hearing that over and over again that, oh, we really got to do this. And they would post jobs. It's not like they weren't trying, but no one would do it because like
Mm,
they'd pay peanuts, right? Because that's all that they had. And it's an untried program. And I went to grad school. I was finally got this job and I'm like, well, it's time. And I moved back across state to my hometown and I started that job. And it was fantastic. And it was and has been kind of that amazing journey that
mm,
to finally be able to be that somebody. And why stop there? There's so many other things to be done.
wow. All right, thank you. Sorry for springing that on you at the end as we're wrapping up, but I just kept coming back to that, like, waiting for somebody, just how personal it is to you, and m you've made it your mantra, and it sounds like it keeps you're growing, you keep doing things and challenging yourself, and it has worked, it's done well for you, so thank you for that. So before we end, what's one thing you want people to remember? If they could only remember one
Mhm.
thing, what's that one thing you want them to take with you?
I want them to take with them that there is more than one way to be able to scale your practice. And there might be ways you're not thinking about. Those other ways are producing products, therapy tools, continuing education courses, as well as getting recognized for your hard work through Counselor's Choice Award. That there's more than one way to scale a practice. It's not a straight line.
Great. The one thing I'm going to take away is people always say that they don't have enough time to do these things, but you've said, why don't you just do it during your no shows? I'm like,
Yeah.
brilliant. You got 30 minutes, 45 minutes, set up a sprint for yourself
Turn off
and
the
just
phone.
just yeah, put the phone away, stop feeding yourself with worthless information crack away at something important for 30, 40 minutes. And if you have a couple no shows a week, you got an extra 2 hours a week to figure stuff out. So
Yeah.
unless you don't get no shows, then you're gonna have to figure out something else. But I
Yeah.
bet everybody gets no shows every once in a while. So awesome. So Leo, thanks for coming on the show. I really enjoyed what you were talking and sharing, and your heart and your mission and your passion. Can you share again, where can people find you, and what are some of your offers?
Yeah, thank you so much for me. So, Counselor's Choice Award is the name. You just Google that. It'll pop right up, counselorschoiceaward.com. And the other area for that is that different kind of honorees that we have are everything from authors and producers of children therapy books to tools that you might need if you're trying to scale your practice, and continuing education courses that are accredited and free, because we think that they are some courses that every therapist should be aware of and know how to use. And I really, really am honored to be on here. I really enjoy some of the material that you present and the way that you present it, James. It's hard to learn something and enjoy it in the same time.
Oh, good. Well, thanks, Leo. I appreciate it. And that's Leo at the counselorschoiceaward.com. He's the author of seven.
I think
Seven
so. Maybe I've lost count.
Seven children's book, the most recent, the Trust Hotel. Thanks everybody for joining us. I really do appreciate the audience. If you want to give us a like or share, that would be amazing. And remember to take those small steps every day that lead to big growth. We'll see you next time.
Psych Maven is proud to support the Scaling Therapy Practice podcast. And if you are someone looking for ideas that are tailored to your own personal style on how to scale and grow your own impact and income as a mental health provider, we hope you might check out our free online assessment. If you go to stp.psychmaven.com, you can take our free personal inventory and find out what your builder type is as a helping professional. This assessment is quick and fun, and it comes with tons of customized resources with your results, so you can discover the best ways to scale that match your own personality. Find the assessment at stp.psychmaven.com. That is stp.psychmaven.com. Have fun with it.
Thank you for listening to the Scaling Therapy Practice. I hope you enjoyed the show. I want to remind you that the content shared today is for general information and entertainment purposes only. It shouldn't be considered as legal or tax advice. If you need a professional advice in those areas, please consult with a licensed attorney or accountant. But thank you so much for listening. The Scaling Therapy Practice is part of the SciCraft Network.